Antonio Conte gets busy. Jose makes his first move. France football troll Neymar again. We got a transfer roundup and this week's great debate all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich. You are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First up, Antonio Conte is getting very busy in the transfer window at Inter Milan. It's honestly really refreshing to see that a club has bought in a manager, said we're going to back him, we really believe in everything that he's doing, and he is massively repaying the faith. Currently, Inter Milan are in a two-way tussle at the top of Serie A to try and get the title back off Juventus to stop them winning it for the 9th time in a row. In the summer, we saw him bring in Lukaku amongst others, and now in January, he's identified the problems and he's going to make his move. First off, Olivier Giroud is close to completing a move to Inter Milan on a 2.5-year deal, which is going to cost them only around €4.5 million for a World Cup winner. That's pretty good business indeed. What he can do is basically come and supplement Romelu Lukaku, and when he's not there, Giroud can slot in and basically won't change the team dynamic too much. A brilliant hold-up player. Secondly, and there's been a swap deal including Leonardo Spinazzola, who moved from Juventus to Roma in the summer and is now moving from Roma to Inter Milan, which sees Matteo Politano move in the other direction. Of course, Inter Milan were linked with Ashley Young for that left wing-back role, and as they couldn't get him from Man United, well, Spinazzola's going to have to do instead. And lastly but not least, the final one, which isn't done just yet, is Christian Eriksen. Now, apparently the Danish playmaker has already said he wants to on Inter Milan. He's agreed all the deals and terms, but it's just now left to the two clubs to hash out a price. Spurs want around 20 million, Inter offering somewhere between 8 and 10, but whatever happens, it's going to be a massive bargain for Inter Milan, considering that his current transfer value puts him at around £90 million. So you're probably thinking, with Spurs getting rid of Christian Eriksen, how are they going to replace him? Well, your move, Jose Mourinho, as he's already brought in his first signing at Spurs. Getson Fernandes, the Benfica midfielder, has joined on an 18-month loan deal with an option to buy any time during that. It's pretty similar to the deal that sees Giovanni Lo Celso, currently at Spurs, on loan from Real Betis. The 21-year-old midfielder hasn't played so much this season, but in a brilliant breakthrough campaign last year, made 53 appearances across all competitions as Benfica won the Portuguese title. What it does mean is that Spurs really are looking to the future and looking at a life past Christian Eriksen, especially when you consider the fact that Lo Celso himself, Tanganga as well, in the last few games have really been looking promising. Of course, the biggest worry for Mourinho is the fact that Harry Kane will be injured for pretty much the rest of the season, so don't expect Spurs to remain quiet for the rest of the transfer window, as another striker could be incoming. But moving on and to France football, who yet again are causing a stir in Neymar's camp. Now, first off, France football are the ones that dish out the Ballon d'Or prize, and they left Neymar off the 30-man shortlist. Well, that was due to the fact he missed a few key games with some injuries. Now, they've released the best team of each team throughout the whole of last decade. And surprise, they've snubbed Neymar again. He does not make it onto PSG's best 11 for the last decade. First off the bat, I'm sure some of you will say that he shouldn't be in there because he's only been there for 2 and a bit years. Well, some of you say he should. He's the most costly transfer of all time and pretty much the 3rd or 4th best player in the world. But if you look throughout the team, there are a few contentious decisions in there. First off, Salvatore Sirigu is in goal. Not quite sure I agree with that. There is actually a back three of Marquinhos, Thiago Silva and Maxwell, which is pretty standard. Motta, Verratti, Matuidi and Angel Di Maria make up the midfield 4. There's a sort of diamond. And of course, we know Neymar have so much attacking talent to choose from, but they've gone with Kylian Mbappe, who's actually been in the club the same time as Neymar, but whatever, Edinson Cavani and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Now, I'm not saying I disagree with any of those choices, they're brilliant, but to not put Neymar in there is a little bit harsh. Yes, he has been missing in all of these massive games of the Champions League, but surely if the other players were so good that they're in PSG's team of the decade, they surely should have done something without him there. If he's being relied upon that much, just shows how integral he is to the team and how good of a player he actually is. Of course, the one thing that does make it difficult when you're choosing PSG's team of the decade is that you can't really compare trophies from one to another, because when they're there, they win all of them all of the time, so that's really a non-starter in that sort of category. But regardless, I'm not sure Neymar is too worried about that, and he's more worried about keeping up the brilliant form that we've seen recently. Anyway, we'll be moving on now to a quick roundup on the rest of the day's transfer and just regular news. First off, and Dortmund are keeping an eye on Norwich's fullback Max Aarons. Bayern Munich are interested in taking PSG's Thomas Meunier, whose contract runs out at the end of the season. The deal that could see Bruno Fernandes move to Manchester United all hinges on whether or not Andreas Pereira agrees to go to Sporting on loan for the rest of the season. And Hertha Berlin boss Jurgen Klinsmann, well, his coaching license has actually run out, meaning that you won't be seeing him on the sideline for a few games, and the club may may be in for a hefty fine until he completes all of the relevant coursework. For next up, and lastly but not least, we come to this week's great debate. This is where all of our guys at the Onefootball Newsroom put their heads together and pose a question to all of you. So in the recent days, we've had Sergio Aguero breaking Thierry Henry's record as the highest goal scorer from overseas in the Premier League. This led them to the natural question, who has been the best import, the best foreign import in Premier League history? Now, of course, you guys can go whichever category you like, whichever player you like, for whichever reason you like. Because, well, if we just went off goals and assists, there'd only be one answer. It's the guy who's done the most. Most people are probably going to go for Thierry Henry, but for me, I'm going for the most exciting, and that is David Ginola. The Frenchman picked up the 1999 PFA Player of the Year award, and that was probably his crowning glory in his 7 years in the division with Newcastle, Spurs, Aston Villa and Everton. But what he did, he just did it with such poise, grace, skill, flair, and of course, that magnificent flowing hair. Everything about it was just brilliant, and for me, it was one of the greatest players in the Premier League of that era and one of the best imports we've ever had. Of course, feel free to completely and utterly disagree with me, which I'm sure you will in the comment section down below, and also let me know your thoughts on the great debate and the rest of today's daily news. Whilst you're at it, you can also smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.